So I don't know if anyone's gonna see this or if I'm gonna end up posting this, but I really wanted to keep a record for myself, and what happens with it happens with it. But I've been going through massive internal transformation. And I was in a very dark place, very depressed and anxious, and wasn't sure if I wanted to be here anymore or if I wanted to continue living. And I reached a point where I knew things had to change. And I've done this before. A few years ago, I did this after a really, really difficult breakup. And I, found a way that I would say that I was in remission for my anxiety and depression, which I have had for as long as I can remember. And I got to a really good place, and then I stopped doing all the things that I was doing that was helping with it, because I thought, I'm good now, I figured it out, I don't need this anymore. And then inevitably, that was back in 2021, and inevitably, as life caught up with me and the pressures of it and all of that, I just ended up slipping back into old habits. And it's funny because when you're in that place, you're so resistant to change, even though you want it, you really, really want it. You want to be happy. You don't want to feel like crap. You don't want to question if life is worth living, if there's a point to living. And I think a lot of very sensitive and deep thinking souls end up in that place. There's people who are always looking for, the meaning, the purpose behind life. There has to be a reason, right? There has to be a reason that I'm going through this, that I am suffering this heartbreak, or that I am really struggling to pay the bills, or, struggling just to make it through the day. And I saw a video today which was really cute, and it was a cat basically saying congratulations for making it through another day. And it really touched me. And then I thought, it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to fight every day as if it were a war and have to struggle through it as if you're going through the trenches and all of those things. I've never believed that life was meant to be that way. I've always believed that life was meant to be fun, that we're meant to enjoy it, and if we aren't enjoying it, then what's the point? If every day we get up and it's Groundhog Day, why would we want to do that? Why would we want to continue? And that's where a lot of my thoughts, my darker thoughts about what I wanted to do with my life came from, because I was not enjoying life. I was ashamed of where I was, I felt like I was left behind. I had not hit milestones that I wanted to and that I thought I should have by this age. And I just wanted a hard restart. I thought, I have screwed this up. I've completely messed up this life. Let me start over. Just let me start again. I'll do it better next time. Which, it's never the case, it's... You come back again and you're back to knowing nothing, right? So, I just thought if I was someone else, if I was born in a different star sign, or if I was, born in different circumstances, or if I'd just had different experiences, that then I would be a success. And I measured success by monetary income. That's how I measured my success and my worth as a human being. How much am I earning? How much money am I generating? And I think that's very, very common. And I think that feeling of having failed or having not made it is very common. And my heart really goes out to those people, because that's hard. It's hard to be in that place. And I hadn't been in this place since 2020, 2021, but I hadn't been in a great place for a couple of years at least. And I could feel myself slipping down that slope, and I was watching it happen. And then logically I knew what I could do to try and help myself. I knew what I had done in the past that had worked for me. I was so resistant to starting again. So, like many, you hit that crisis point and then off you go. You realize something has to change. And that's when I finally sat up and I said, I have to go back to what I was doing before. I have to change things. I can't keep doing this because I don't want to live. But I also didn't want to hurt all of those around me and abandon all of my animals and things like that by ending my suffering through more extreme and permanent measures. And I think this time around it was easier because I'd already done it once before, and it was familiar to me. Which I'm very fortunate for. But when back in 2020, 2021, it was very hard. It was very, very hard to learn to do something new, to be someone else, to reframe my experiences in my life and how I'm living life. So my heart really goes out to people who are struggling with that, because that's, it sucks. It's not a good time. But I guess I really want people to know that there is a way, that it is doable, and your way may not be the same as mine. And that's fine, but this is just a little message of hope and a little bit of encouragement, and to let you know that if you don't have anyone in your quarters, on your side, anyone who you feel you can lean into, or you don't feel like you have any support, I just want you to know that I'm there. You know, I'm rooting for you to succeed and to do well and to get out of that dark, dark place. Because the truth is, life can be beautiful, and it can be fun and exciting and wonderful, and that doesn't mean that you need to have lots of money and go traveling overseas. And I mean, that might be part of it, you know, traveling might really help you, but my transformation, I didn't go anywhere, not physically. It was all inside, it was all in here. So I guess I want to talk about what inspired this video. Maybe I should have done this at the start. But I didn't really know what I was going to talk about. But spring has sprung here in Australia, and it has been a very wet and cold and dark winter, and my day job, I work outside, so I'm in it. I'm in the weather, whether it's, you know, raining or windy or blistering hot, all of those things. And I love it, but standing in mud, I'm very sick of standing in mud and being covered in mud and being wet and just cold and uncomfortable. And today, for the first time in what feels like forever, the sun is out, there's a beautiful breeze, the birds are singing, all the cliche things, but you know, I was like, this is such a beautiful day, and I sat out here with a cup of tea, and normally my mind would go to, I have to do something, I have to be productive, because I haven't reached my potential in earnings, you know, or I need to attract more clients, or I need to work on some way of improving myself. That's the other thing that happens to me, is I get very distracted and I'll pretend that I'm taking time to relax and work on myself and really embody who I want to be and how I want to feel. But I'll just find a distraction by being like, oh, I have to work on myself, you know, I have to find something to do. You know, I have to listen to a podcast or a self-help book or something like that. And there are times for that, but I really felt like I needed to have time to just sit and be and feel and embody this feeling, this beautiful feeling, this gratitude, this love for life, this love for existing. I don't know if the wind's going to come up on the recording, so I'll try not to talk too much when it blows, but I was in this place where I was trying to just embrace that feeling, and I could feel it. I felt peaceful and happy and grateful, not through any effort, but just because I was appreciating this moment right now. And I wasn't letting myself bully myself into thinking I had to do something or go somewhere or be somewhere since I had today free. So I was like, you know what, today, let's just see what comes up, what I want to do. And it doesn't come easily still, you know, because the old habits, they still want to come up. You know, my preference was to stay inside because it was still, it's colder in the house, so I had this belief that it would be cold outside even if the sun was out. I wanted to sit in the house, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll do some stuff on the computer, maybe I'll work on my book on the computer, or which always turns into doom scrolling on Facebook. And a couple of pages of writing. But I thought, no, I want to sit outside with my cup of tea, and I just want to feel it and embody it. And I did, and it was the best thing, way better than sitting at the computer doom scrolling. And so I did that for a bit, and then I moved back there, and I was lying down, and I was feeling that. And I don't know how long I was there, but I was just soaking it up. I was just soaking up being relaxed, because relaxing does not come easily to me, not without anxiety and all of that. So I was there, and I was relaxing, and then I was in this really good place, and then Muffin, one of my cats, came over, and she was lying with me, and we were both just soaking it up, and she's such a great example of how to relax. How not to worry about things. And then I went inside, and because I needed to make some lunch because I was starting to get a bit hungry, obviously, because that's why you go make food. Anyway, I went inside, and I normally don't like cooking at all because it just feels like such a waste of time. Like, why do we have to eat so much and so often, and all of these things, and like, why do I have to spend so much of my life cooking when there's other things I have to do? Like, I get really caught up in this anxiety of there's other things I have to do. I have to be somewhere, I have to do something, I have to, be a productive member of society every second that I'm awake. And I was cooking, and everything was on the stove, and I had that feeling, that happiness, that rush. And I started dancing in the kitchen, and I'm not thinking about how I'm dancing, I'm just feeling it and enjoying it, and enjoying being in the moment, and enjoying, being in gratitude for having that moment and for having that feeling, And I just thought, I want to remember this. I want to remember this. I don't want to forget. And that's why I decided to make this video. It's a 20-minute video. Or longer. We'll see. And like I said, I don't know what the point of this video is, or what I plan to do with it, or I don't really have a goal, but other than to capture it and that feeling. But, you know, I just felt like this is what I had to do right now, and maybe this is meant for someone. Maybe it's just meant for me. That would be enough too. Because that thought pattern again, this is meant for someone, comes from that place of I have to be doing something productive. You know? But what if you don't? What if I don't? What if this is enough? And if it is, that's pretty good. If I do post this, sending you lots of love and light and all those spiritual things. But what I really wish for you is I really wish for you to experience this feeling. To experience the joy of being alive. And the gratitude of it. Because that's where the magic is. That's where freedom is. That's where power is. And to me, that's the whole point of being alive.